Hi, Mark. Thanks for joining us today. I think you wanted to talk a little bit about the Shanghai Stock Exchange and particularly the STAR market. I know it's a little bit of a new uh, innovation in the Shanghai Stock Exchange, but would you mind giving us a little bit of more background about what it is?
Okay, sure. So look, I think the reason I'm not the biggest expert on the Star Exchange, but the interesting thing is this is China's like version of the or answer to the Nasdaq was just established in 2019, and it's already become the most valuable stock market I think in Asia, and it's a stock market that focuses on technology, and for that reason, it's something that I think international businesses should know about. Firstly, just to know that it's there, maybe competitors are listing on there, but also the Shanghai Stock Exchange Star market, I think, does give some opportunities going forward for international companies that are either doing business in China or doing joint ventures in China.
And when you say it's equivalent to the Nasdaq, for those that don't know, it's the Nasdaq and the Star market. Uh, they have a particular focus on technology. Is that correct, Mark?
Yeah, I mean, we've got a list. I mean, if people reach out to us, we've done a list of an Excel sheet with the different companies who are listed, what their businesses are, their website, and how much they raised. But basically, the Star market's looking at the high-tech industries of tomorrow, things like next generation IT, cutting-edge equipment, new materials technology, new energy, and then like environmental protection technology, biomedicine. And so I think what we see is really a preponderance on manufacturing. So perhaps a little bit less than the e-commerce that you might see in NASDAQ, but we see like cutting edge manufacturing type companies on there.
And I think I wanted to spend a little bit of time. I was looking at these numbers, Mark, and they're really amazing, considering just how young the star market is. Um, just to give you some quick facts here, 40% of the IPOs in last year were in mainland China and Hong Kong. I think the next box there says that the Nasdaq, actually, the comparison that you made earlier, was the second most popular, and the Shanghai Stock Exchange was the first. And the third, which was also surprising, was the Shenzhen Stock Exchange. And we have some numbers about the figures here. But Mark, what do you think these numbers tell us about the trend in terms of China and its focus on technology?
Well, I think, firstly, I mean, it's not maybe about technology. It's also just a bit about how China now really is a place where there's a lot of aggregation of capital. And so I think, these kind of figures, it shows that China's no longer a place which is just to have a factory to manufacture stuff. It's also a place to raise capital. Probably a lot of those IPOs in Hong Kong, excuse me, Hong Kong's probably benefited a bit from the US decoupling from China. And so I think a lot of tech companies are looking to do IPOs in Hong Kong. And I think the Shanghai Stock Exchange and the Star market are also benefiting. So, maybe 20 years ago, Chinese high-tech companies were always looking to list overseas. I guess now they think there's bigger pots of cash available within China. And I think the other thing that's interesting is, it seems that valuations on the Star market, because you look at the total value of those companies, about 500 billion US dollars, they seem to be higher generally than European stock markets and on par with the US or even higher than the US. So I guess it's a whole new thing that we're seeing here. Basically, it could be in a few years, a lot of foreign companies will come to China, especially if they've got a large China component to their business. They may try to raise capital in China.
And we talked a little bit earlier about the type of sectors. This information is pulled directly from the Star Exchange website. And Mark, I mean, what do you make of this breakdown of the sectors here?
Yeah, well, it's a bit surprising to me that the new generation IT is that high, to tell you the truth. I think when we've seen Star Exchange companies, the ones we've been coming in contact with are mostly the biomedicine type companies, especially diagnostic companies or cancer related companies. And we've also seen quite a bit of new materials and high-end equipment. So the new generation IT is a bit of a surprise, but I think it does show that there is a well-rounded bunch of different companies. And yeah, the amounts they raise vary from a few hundred million renminbi to a number of billions of renminbi. So there is quite a different range in the kind of companies that are listing on the Star Exchange.
And we say all of this just to put a little bit of context, because for most of our clients, the foreign technology companies, they might be wondering, how does this information help them? And I know that we will do a separate video on this. This is more of an introduction video, but maybe you want to give us a little bit of a preview of what's to come.
Yeah, so look, I think the reason why people should know about it is, it is something quite interesting. It's relatively new. And I think what we're seeing is Chinese companies, increasingly they find it's difficult to go overseas to do acquisition, especially of tech companies. And although there'll be also regulations controlling the export of technology, I think we're going to see many more joint ventures. And I think the reason why the Star Exchange, or the fact that this is happening in China, is interesting because, firstly, it used to be that joint venture companies were set up in China very often just to get market access. And I think the thing is, the market access has grown, but probably the truth as to the access is also much more true than it used to be. People used to believe in market access to a Chinese joint venture partner, but very often the Chinese joint venture partner wasn't as powerful as they were led to believe. But I think now, if we're looking at consumer-based companies or companies that are making big sales in China, it's increasingly difficult to do it without a strong Chinese partner. And that's not because of legal requirements. It's just that China's perhaps too big. Consumer-facing businesses need to be spread out too much. And I think you probably need a Chinese partner who's got the resources in China, understands the market, and is able to approach it, more than one province at a time. And for that reason, I think the Star Exchange companies are interesting because most of them are relatively young companies, and they've got revenue, they've got a proof of concept, and they may well be a good type of joint venture partner for international tech companies looking to enter the Chinese market.
And I think that's the most interesting takeaway of this short presentation, Mark, is that normally the foreign technology companies, they understand their own problems and they understand their own wants and desires. But looking at it from the other perspective, that these star market companies, they do have a proof of concept. They are competing against each other in a sense for investments, for better deals, better share prices. They are more likely to be interested in cooperating with the foreign technology companies. So using that as a starting point, I think, is a very interesting solution. And we will talk a little bit more about the opportunities in detail, the ones that are on the screen, in the next video. Thank you for watching.